Greetings, Butterfly Tribe, and welcome back to The Way You See Me Heart Healing Ministries. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to do one of the longer posts because I was dealing with some kind of respiratory infection that just gave me the blues for about 6 weeks straight. But I want to come back and I want to share the experience of what I now know to be my first prophetic dream. Looking back on my life, I've always been a dreamer, but because I was never really taught about the gift of dreams or prophetic dreams, I never looked at them as a prophetic gift. I wasn't taught about this gift. I heard about it in church, but never thought that it was a gift that I had. But looking back, like I said, I always was a dreamer. I always had moments of what we call deja vu, where I had dreamed something and then lived it. That would happen quite often in my childhood. But this particular prophetic dream, I've never forgotten. I had this profound dream on April 3rd, 1996. I now know that the Most High was warning me of a loss. At the time, I did not know. I just thought it was a dream. And even when the dream came to pass, I knew He was preparing me for something, but still never looked at it as a prophetic dream. So I was away at college, preparing to come home for what then I celebrated as, spring break, Easter holiday. And I went to school about an hour away from where I grew up, and I had to catch a bus, the Greyhound bus, to come home. So that particular Friday, I went to get to catch the bus after my classes, and I got there too late. When I got there, the bus that I needed to catch was gone, and another bus would not be leaving to my destination until the next morning. So I went back to my dorm room and waited. Well, that night, I actually dreamed from me missing the bus to me catching the bus and going home. And when I arrived to the Greyhound bus station in the city where it would drop me, I would get there, and when I called for my ride, my cousin would get there and tell me that we needed to go right to the hospital because my grandmother was doing bad. They were not expecting her to make it. She was on her deathbed. This was the dream. So the next morning, I get up, I catch the bus, I arrive at the Greyhound bus station, and my cousin Lee comes to pick me up, and he tells me we're going straight to the hospital. The family is there because my grandmother is sick, and they're not expecting her to make it. My grandmother had triple bypass surgery. She always had heart disease and diabetes my entire childhood. And she played such a profound role in my upbringing. She helped my mom raise me my entire life, but mainly from ages 13 until that present time. I lived in the same home with my grandmother. She was my example always of what the Messiah was like. Like, I saw her live that through her life. She prayed all the time. Even in her sickness, she would moan and she would groan and she would pray. I saw her do great things. She would, when they weren't at prayer meeting and church at the church where she worshiped at, she would do prayer meetings along with several other families in the community where we lived. These people would gather, everybody would bring food, and they would have prayer meeting and Bible study in different homes. I saw my grandparents, they lived near a railroad track, and they would invite, we used to call them hobos. They would invite them in, allow them to shower, stay the night, and they would send them along on their journey. I saw my grandparents do this. I saw my grandmother open her house not only to me as a grandkid, but to many of her children and grandkids throughout life so that they always knew they had somewhere to go. My grandmother she was my happy place. She made me know that I was loved. She never made me feel like I was anything less than a granddaughter that she loved. And so that day that I lost her, when that dream came to pass, that prophetic dream, I didn't know that the Most High was warning me that my covering had been removed, that I was exposed. She was the prayer warrior that prayed for me. And I believe with every fiber of my being that she saw the gifts of the Most High within me. She saw the gifts of the Spirit within me. She knew the calling of my life and that she had been placed there to preserve me, to protect me, to pray for me, and to keep me safe. And he was preparing me that she was being removed, and I didn't understand at the time what that meant. I went through severe depression after losing her. I went back to school. We buried her that next week, and I had to complete that semester, which was about 3 to 4 more weeks. So I go back to school after we buried her, and I was severely depressed. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I did manage to go to class and finish my exams, and I finished that semester on the dean's list, but I was severely depressed. I cried all the time, and I would not eat. I lost about 22 to 23 pounds in 3 weeks. When I came home after that semester, people were asking my mom if I was sick, because that's how much weight I had lost in such a short period of time. But it wasn't that. I went into a dark place, a very, very dark place, because there's no way I would have known that that dream would come true, but it literally happened the very next day. That was my experience with the first prophetic dream. And that's how my dreams tend to work when the Most High is speaking to me through dreams. They're very straightforward, and it tends to happen just the way he shows me. But yes, he will warn us. And he was warning me that it was time for her to go home, and I was exposed. And I'm sharing this because as I went through my journey of healing, this second round through it, he took me back to a place and showed me where the enemy crept in at. He showed me the entrance point of where the enemy was allowed to creep in and wreak havoc in my life. And it was that moment. It was the moment she died. It was the moment she transitioned from here to wherever spirits reside until judgment comes. But that's the moment, though, that day, April 4th, 1996, opened up a gate or a doorway and allowed the enemy to enter it. That her death put me or ushered me into a place where I was in a very weakened state spiritually, physically, and mentally, and all my guards were down. Now that was just the start of it. Some other things happened, but that was the start of it. And he allowed me to see. So if, when you ever hear somebody say he'll take you back to the place, he took me back to the place where the enemy entered into my life. And he had actually warned me about it through that dream, that I was losing a covering from my life, as he showed me the death of my grandmother. Some of you may be able to relate to this. I'm sharing this because the depression that came after that, I had to learn to heal from that. And so again, thank you for listening. Pay attention to when the Most High is trying to speak to you, through dreams, through visions, through auditory, or, he speaks to us. And we just have to be sensitive to his voice when he is warning us that trouble is coming. Take heed to the warnings. I hope that I've shared something that helps you understand how the enemy comes in to wreak havoc in our lives. Thank you and have a blessed day.